Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The difference in the chanting style is because of the Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda. This is the same mantra. And the mantra in the Shukla Yajurveda style sounds like how it is chanted in the ashram. But if you go to South India, this is how it is chanted. That is the slight variation, that's all. But that is the beauty of this culture. We revel in this diversity. It is not a threat. It is a culture and a tradition. More the merrier. This is what it is. This is what it is from the standpoint of divinity. And there is a very interesting story in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad where the sage Yajnavalkya was asked, how many gods are there? And so first he said 333. And then upon being pressed, then he said 33. Then he said 3. Then finally he said 1. So it really doesn't matter. All these numbers and everything doesn't matter because we are we are getting to understand thanks to the Upanishads, and especially this particular Upanishad we have at hand, except it is not in my hand. Where is it? So thank you, Shambhavi. So with this Upanishad, we can say that, especially with this Upanishad, it has a twofold purpose. The first purpose is to help the struggling jiva. And who is the person? What is the definition of jiva? The one who complains. Okay. Yeah. One who complains is jiva. Yeah. Jaded, faded, hapless, hopeless, helpless jiva. I'm no good, I'm an idiot. We saw some of that yesterday, some of that kind of a thinking. And so from the standpoint of this jiva suddenly cannot be taught Tattvamasi. You are Brahman, you are Bhagavan, you are Ishvara. It will not make sense. And even if it makes sense, it will be a knowledge that is utterly and completely rejected because there is a lot of resistance to understanding that. There's a great deal of resistance because there is a parallel reality that is going on. Bhagavan can project a reality in the form of this universe. Wait and watch. I can also project a parallel reality. Okay, what is this reality you have projected? A web of anger and sorrow. Oh, I don't like it very much. In the beginning, it looked very good, but like a painting gone wrong because everybody cannot be Picasso, Monet. Okay. And so, therefore, this is why it's like a painting gone wrong. The jiva's projection is a alternative and tries to be a parallel projection. Nobody else does it except the human jiva. The oak tree does not say, I'm sick of growing in the forest. All I see are other trees. It's very boring. I'm going to the beach. It doesn't say that. I'm just taking my babies and going to the beach. It doesn't say that. Neither does the river say, why am I only flowing from west to east? Why can't I just go from some other place? Why can't I do that? It doesn't say that. It flows however it's supposed to flow. And even animals, they all follow the law. And when we say law, it's not some kind of a guy in the sky making the laws, and it's not like a commandment. For us, It is the laws or commandments are a manifestation of God, not a mandate of God. So wherever there is a law, there is the presence of what we call Bhagavan Ishvara. And this is something to be assimilated. So only the human being has this capacity of this parallel projection, which seems like a privilege because of the free will, but very soon one understands that it is not a privilege. It comes heavily laden with a lot of baggage. Why? Because we just spin a little web of lies, which then ultimately traps us. This is what we do. And so the any Upanishad, and right now the Ganapati Upanishad specifically, what does it do? It talks about this jiva and the parallel rejection, which just as quickly as it was projected needs to be withdrawn. This is what happens. Everybody is quick in doing something, but it takes time to mop that up because there is a pattern. There is a pattern. So, thanks to the Ganapati Upanishad, we learn to live in Bhagavan's world. In Bhagavan doesn't mean some entity. We learn to live in the world, which is what we call a kind of a reality other than what I have projected. There is something there. There are laws over which I have no control. There is a smooth functioning of those laws, whether they are ecological laws, physiological laws, biological laws. There are laws. There is something there. And then over that, if I project my own perceptions, there will always be misperception or missed perception. One of them it will be. And so the Ganapati Upanishad tries to cut off the parallel projection, not in a drastic way, because one is habituated to it, one is used to it, one cannot somehow, one is addicted to it, one may say. One cannot know how else to live. It doesn't try to cut off the projection drastically, but what it does is it gently leads us to see that all that there is an intelligence into everything that works. All that is there is this intelligence, which we call chit, which we call jnanam. And this intelligence is not separate and is not away from my own intellect, buddhi. It's not outside of me. And this, whatever I know, is included in this knowing that is there. And this knowing is spread everywhere. Whatever you see, whatever you pick up, wherever you go, all you find in and through all the names and forms, what shines is knowledge. In fact, we don't have much to say about the names and forms. What is this? If you have a rose, and if you say, what is this? It's a rose. And then you can ask one more question. Why is it like this? Oh, that's why are the petals like this? Oh, that's because it protects it against the wind, and it grows like this, and this is how it is. It holds it, the petal formation, we can say, helps it to disperse the fragrance in a certain way, which attracts the bees, which attracts pollination. And so the flower, the intelligence that is the flower, is geared towards the protection and the propagation of the species. This is the knowledge. We can say that. But every knowledge is only up to one more question. When you say, why is the rose like this? The petals of the rose like this, but the petals of the carnation, carnation? Yeah. And so, why is the petal of the carnation not like this and it is like that? I don't know. I don't know. We don't know because actually the carnation should be renamed incarnation. Okay. That is why we don't know. It is Ishvara, it's an incarnation. Everything is an incarnation of this knowledge. This knowledge is manifest as all names and forms throughout completely, wholly manifest. So, whatever we are looking at, there is presence. It exists. How it exists and it exists in time, etc., we'll see that later. But right now, it exists. Why? Because it is here. I can objectify it. I can look at it. Oh, but maybe you're not looking at it correctly, but doesn't matter. We can look at it. However, we look at it, we are looking at it. And then, so we can say it exists, and then it is nothing other than knowledge. We can say these two things about any given object in the universe. But then what we find is that we are stuck with the name and the form. We cannot go beyond it to the to contemplating on philosophical topics like existence, knowledge, sat, chit. We don't really know how because we get caught up in the name and the form. We are unable to go beyond that. And getting addicted or falling in love with the name and the form. That's why the word falling comes there whenever love is discussed. Yeah, and falling is, that's the operative word. Falling is not intentional. People don't fall intentionally. So there is a falling means there is some out of control situation happening. We have to think about all these things. And so so whenever we fall in love with a name and a form, with an object, etc., without understanding that underlying principles, that it exists and that it is knowledge, that with that in other words, the existence of the flower does not belong to it. Oh, what is this now? Existence of the flower belongs to what then? Something other than itself. Oh, how? Because if I say flower is, it should constantly be is. But I'm holding the flower and saying flower is, flower is, flower is. And after 2 days, what will happen? Yeah, the flower becomes like that. Flower changes. Is does not change. Flower is, wilted flower is, withered flower is, dried flower is, dead flower is, composted flower is, another flower bush is, another flower is. You see, the is unchanging. Is. Is doesn't go away. What goes away? The name goes away. The name called flower undergoes a change. The form called flower undergoes a change. Therefore, we can dare to say that the isness of the flower does not belong to the flower. It lies elsewhere. And where we will see. Answer is Ganapati. Okay. Yeah. so So the is, and same thing. The knowledge that is the flower is in a way, it's not, it is more universal than the flower. because there are certain aspects that are specific, and there are certain aspects that apply to all flowers, let us say, or all beings. All things that are born must die, the Bhagavad Gita says. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Apariharya. Apariharya means this cannot be changed. Why? Because it is out of control. And so the first message of the Ganapati Upanishad is to be in line with the daily life of the individual. How to ask for protection from which we cannot control, things that we cannot control. How to allay the anxiety that is just part and parcel of being a human being. If there is no anxiety, one is not a human being. It's almost like that. The anxiety, the fear, the terror, that is there, that is universally there. How to manage that? And over time, eliminate that totally. And then how to not buy into the sorrow and fan it all the time and keep on wallowing in it. How to manage sorrow, how to manage pain, how to manage anger. These are all very important day-to-day things that one needs. And what does it take? Finally, what does it take to feel completely protected? What does it take to cut through the alienation, which is another definition of the human being? I feel all alone. Each one says, even in crowded countries like India, teeming billions of people are there. Still, I feel lonely. I feel alone. How can you feel alone? You're surrounded by people. But still, that feeling, the rampant feeling that nobody understands me, nobody cares, nobody knows me. I'm all alone. There is no one to support me. This is the Jiva's journey. Before the Jiva was incarnate, before this whole world came into being, a projection of the Lord, of the Goddess. And before this projection, what was there? All that was there was Sat. Sadeva Somya idamagre asit ekameva dvitiyam. There was just this thing called Sat, something that exists. But then what was that? And that was undifferentiated as this Jagat. It is one and non-dually one. This is what the Upanishad says. What if the Upanishad is wrong? Well, at some point you have to trust something. Okay. Yeah. That's the only thing I can say. You have to come to a place of, you can't trust people, check. Okay. You can't trust, you can't trust government, check. Okay. You can't trust yourself, definitely. Then you can't trust the significant other because they may be plotting something, you never know. And so who are you who are you going to trust? Someplace, somewhere the buck has to stop. Somewhere you have to make a decision to say, I have to take this leap, and that leap is called Shraddha. I give myself the privilege of allowing myself to trust something. But what if there is no Sat? Doesn't matter. Right now, it's a provisional trust. Okay. Yeah. It's a trust pending understanding. So maybe we don't say Shraddha, we just say Shra. That's all. Dha will come after 5 days. Okay. Provisional. You give it a benefit of doubt. What do you have to lose other than self-ignorance? Nothing. Nothing. And so therefore, the Upanishad says That the Upanishad becomes a means of knowledge for that which we are unable to know on our own. Yesterday I talked about the contradiction between the karta, the the subject, and what do I want to know? Myself, the object. So the subject object contradiction is there. And that is why I need help, because I keep getting in my own way all the time. That is why I need help. And so help comes only when there is trust. The drowning person does not have a choice. So if a stick is offered, you can't say, is it strong enough? Here there is one is going glub, glub, glub in quicksand. And so is it strong enough? Where did you buy this stick from? What kind of wood is it made of? It's too late to ask all these questions. You grasp anything that comes, you grasp. But you can argue with me. I'm not drowning. I'm just sitting here. The fact that you're sitting here means you're about to drown, really. Otherwise, who comes to ashrams? Yeah. Who comes? Everybody is going, going to malls and balls. Yeah. How do you spell mall? Maul, where you go to get mauled of your wallet. Okay. Yeah. And then you go to the ball, Bawl, where you sit and cry. Nobody asked you to dance. That's why. So this is the situation. Yeah. If you're sitting here, that means there is awareness. There is an awareness that the options are closing in. There is an awareness of wanting to change. There may be trepidation, there may be distrust, there may be all these things, resistance. That's okay. That's part of the journey. And that's perfectly fine. But then this thing that is wanting to understand, this part of oneself that is wanting something more other than just going to work, coming back, eating, sleeping, going to work again. And then what? Retiring and buying one, what is that called? That one big bus people buy, not a bus. What is that called? RT? RV, recreational vehicle. Yeah, RV. And then go all over the place. And there must be something other than this. If that is the feeling, that is the understanding that brings one here to a place of learning, to a sacred place of living differently, of coming back to oneself, an opportunity for a U-turn. It is you that turns, okay? Yeah, that's why it's called it's called U-turn. This is what it is. This is where this is why one needs to trust something, somewhere, at some point, even a little bit. And so the Upanishad is not presented as one more philosophy, one more thing to understand, one more thing to discuss. This is not a something, this is not a matter to discuss, this is a matter to understand. And so, if the Upanishad says, this Upanishad doesn't say that, but another Upanishad, the Chandogya Upanishad, says this Jagat was there right from the beginning, but it was in an undifferentiated form. And now, how do we find it? Differentiated. Same Sat. That same Sat, that existence, that source of that existence, which is all knowledge, is differentiated into many, 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 many names, many, 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 many forms. That is, and then since it has differentiated into many, many, many names and many, many, many forms, it must be now non-existence because it has become the Jagat, the universe. No. That's why we bring in a third word to help us. Ananda or Ananta, actually. Ananta, infinite. limitless, limitlessly existent, limitlessly all knowing. This is how we understand this. And so, the twofold purpose, going back to this, the first purpose is the eradication of sorrow and fear. Bhaya nivritti, fear eradication, sorrow nivritti, shoka nivritti, sorrow eradication. This is what one needs, because that is the universal reason why anybody comes to the study of the Upanishad. This is why one comes, because one is sick of oneself. And one is never sick of oneself if one is happy. Nobody complains to any Swami. You know what? I have a problem. Oh, Swami, I have a problem. What's your problem? My problem is I'm too happy. Yesterday also I was happy. Day before yesterday also happy. And whole year has gone extremely happily. Do we find anybody complaining like this? No, not at all. It's the opposite that is the complaint. Oh, last year was terrible. This year has started badly. Help. This is the complaint. Not the other one. Nobody complains. I'm too contented. Help. My complaint is that I have no complaints. Help. Nobody says that. Nobody says that. This is a universal issue. It is not there is no difference in the complaints. There is no Hindu complaint and Jewish complaint and Christian complaint. There is no such thing. A complaint is a complaint. Discontent is discontent. It is universal. And so the first purpose is to address the this daily life, the daily grind of the jivas, and look at this phenomenon of all. I mean, many Upanishads talk about sorrow directly. This one doesn't do that. Many other Upanishads talk about fear, like the Taittiriya Upanishad talks about the elimination of fear. This doesn't do that. Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, talks about the elimination of sorrow, 6th and 7th chapters. This doesn't do that. Then what does it do? What is its focus? The elimination of alienation. Feeling adrift, feeling unconnected, and being in the unenviable situation of feeling disconnected, firstly from oneself. I don't know where I am. I have gone bye-bye. Oh, wait, I'm back. Oh, not for long. I'm gone again. This is a disconnection. Not having the conscious mind and the unconscious or the subconscious mind, they are like navagrahas. They don't look at each other. If you go to a Hindu temple, we have the 9 planets there. And one of the rules of establishing these 9 planets is that they should not look at each other. They should all be facing different directions. They should never make eye contact. So in the same way, the subconscious mind, the storehouse of various desires, the unconscious mind, the storehouse of pains and hurts, does not look at the conscious mind. They do not look at the conscious mind. Consciously, one is going about one's life with a sense of loneliness, with a sense of emptiness, which one is not able to fathom, much less eliminate, much less manage. So this is the alienation from oneself. In fact, every heart is a Kurukshetra, a battlefield of warring preferences, contradictory emotions, and fearful plans, difficult situations. I want to do this, but I can't. And then, so as a result, as my teacher used to say, anything that one likes or loves is either illegal or unethical or too fattening, too many calories. This is what he used to say. So there is all this pain that one carries. One is alienated from oneself. I want to study. I want to find a guru. I have come to the ashram, which is the place where all the gurus are and where the knowledge is. Okay, then study. No, but I want a mummy and a daddy. I want to be taken care of. Then go back to your mummy and daddy. I don't like them. this is the this is what is the disconnect. The disconnect. This is exactly what the disconnect is, which has to be looked at, which has to be healed, which has to be understood. As though this is not enough, then one is disconnected from other beings, assuming from other jivas, assuming the worst. You did this because you are mean to me. You did this because you do not like me. One marriage almost came to a brink of a divorce, all because the woman thought that the husband was making faces at her like this all the time. They had just moved from, I think, from New York to California. There is a hint why he was making these faces. Now you can think. He was going like this all the time. So she went to my guru, Swamiji, he doesn't love me anymore. I want a divorce. Why? Why? And he was also surprised. Who said that? I'm very dedicated to you. What do you mean? No, you're always making terrible faces, disappointed and angry faces at me. He says, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. And then he made a face. See, Swamiji, he's making this face. And then it turned out he had terrible allergies after going from one town to another. From one coast to another, he was still getting used to the flora there. And so, you cannot command a sneeze. It comes whenever it wants. You cannot say one, two, three, okay, let's sneeze now. It doesn't work that way. So he would almost sneeze and then it would go away. And then again, he would feel all ticklish in the back of his throat and in the top of his nose. And then he would almost sneeze and then it would go away. And so he ended up making a face anticipating the sneeze, which never came. Which never came. This is what we call the subjectivity that cuts us off from other beings. So one is disconnected from oneself, and one from one's fellow beings also equally disconnected. Disconnected from the fellow beings, disconnected from oneself. Oh, that's enough. What else is there? Oh, we are not done yet. We are only halfway through. Disconnected from the universe. Oh, but how do you say? Look at what we are making of it. Look at how much non-degradable, is that how you say? Yeah. Non-biodegradable. That sounds better. Yeah. Non-biodegradable. How many things we use? How many things we consume? When we have a choice. And I'm not just talking of people here. In fact, here we are preaching to the choir. But we are talking about the world at large, all 8 billion of us. How much wastage, how much the eyes are bigger than our own needs, how much we take in without using and end up throwing things away that somebody else could actually have used. If that is not a disconnect from Mother Earth and all her pains and sorrows, climate change, so many things, I don't know what else is. So we are disconnected from the universe, from the resources of the universe. We are not in touch with what the earth needs to heal so that she can heal us. We are not in touch with that at all. Then finally, what else is there? The source of the universe, if there is such a thing called Ishvara, God. We are disconnected from that also. And that's very easy to get disconnected because where is God? You don't see Bhagavan anywhere. We don't see anything anywhere. And so it's easy to just say there is no connection. And so this Upanishad, the Ganapati Upanishad, is an Upanishad of reconnection to oneself, to other beings in the world, to the Jagat, to the whole universe, and to Ishvara, which is an extension of oneself, which is the truth of oneself. There is no Ishvara other than oneself. And so the complaining individual is made to understand that he or she is nothing but the non complaining Ishvara. That's all it is. Yeah, that's all. That's really what it is. And so this is what it does on the material level, on the everyday level. This Upanishad is an expert in healing the alienation and the disconnect on all through all sources, and by uh, by understanding the truth of this universe and understanding the truth of Ganapati. What is this Ganapati? Gananam Patihi, the the Lord of all groups. Gana means groups, and we'll see what that is presently. So this Ganapati, which is a manifestation of Bhagavan. What is this Ganapati? And it is, we can say, oh, I know Ganapati, I know Ganapati. What is this Ganapati? The one who is fat and chubby, and the one who has, what else? Elephant ears, elephant face, trunk, the one who loves modakas, certain kinds of sweets, and the one who rides on a mouse. And so this is the Ganapati we know, but this is not the Ganapati of the Upanishads. This Ganapati has a loving and a universal form. And in fact, it is that form is called Pranava. It is Omkara. So if you write Om, and then there is like a Ganapati Akara there, that is a hint. So this Ganapati, which we pray to in this particular form, that's okay. But the Vedas, the Upanishad, presents a different kind of a Ganapati, a universal being who is yourself. The self in the form of a contented, all knowing, all knowledge being, infinite being, which transcends the body mind sense complex, which is the bread and butter of Vedanta. So it gives the knowledge of Vedanta Shastra, at the same time allaying the fears and all these sorrows and difficulties and alienation on a day to day level. That is why this Upanishad is very, very special, because both those levels, the level of the everyday and the level of the transcendental and the imminent, both are addressed. Usually, what happens is that I have people asking me, maybe during the question hour, okay, this is all fine, but can you give us some practical tips how to go about this life? Because the teaching is wonderful, but it does not translate into the everyday life. This is everybody's complaint. But here in this Upanishad, that complaint will not be there, because it does address the levels. It addresses the everyday, and it also addresses the truth of oneself, knowing which the everyday does not matter at all. It does not matter because it is not a matter for complaint. That is why. So, yesterday we talked about how this one Veda was divided into four and given to families to keep by Bhagavan Vyasa, the author of the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. And this was a wonderful move to protect it from the colonizers, to protect it from any kind of deterioration. Because if it is all carried in the head, nothing can be done. It cannot be destroyed. To destroy the Vedas, you have to destroy each and every person who has memorized the Vedas. And that's just impossible. And so, therefore, the Vedas have survived. And so they are four in number, five if you count the recension in the Yajurveda. So the Yajurveda has a recension, the Krishna Yajurveda practiced, chanted followed in South India, and the Shukla Yajurveda predominantly in North India. And then we have Rig Veda, Yajurveda, and then Samaveda. We don't ask the question which one came first. That is a question for academia. I call it academentia. Okay. Yeah. So that is a question for academia. It's not for this because here it doesn't matter which came first. We are talking of trying to put a trust into something that has something shubham to give. Shubham means auspicious, hitam, comforting. That is what it is. So I dare to trust that, and then I just take the message without trying to give it some kind of historicity or the timeline. Because if I start looking into historicity and timeline, then I am operating the Vedas and the Upanishad. Whereas the Upanishad should operate upon me and take away the cataracts of the vision that make me see a world full of division. This is the idea. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Namaha, my gratitude, grateful salutations to the Guru. Oh, why are you grateful to the Guru? What did the Guru do? Filled you up with knowledge? No such thing. What did the Guru do? The Guru actually turned out to be a surgeon and removed the cataracts of ignorance from my eyes so that I stopped seeing the world full of divisions. Mine, yours, his, hers, its, and not yet mine. This is how we divide the world. Mine, not yet mine, soon to be mine. This is, that division goes away in the wake of this teaching. And so this is why the Vedas have two portions. First, it is a uh, karma kanda. Karma kanda means how to live, what kind of righteous living should one practice, how should the devatas, the various deities, be propitiated, etc., etc. And then we graduate. After doing this, we graduate to asking some fundamental spiritual questions. Who am I? And for them, the Upanishad talks. So the Upanishad is known as Jnana Kanda, the second or the last portion of the Veda, where this knowledge resides, where this knowledge rests. And therefore, in the four Vedas, at the end of each of the Vedas, there are Upanishads. Sometimes right in the middle there is an Upanishad, like the Ishavasya Upanishad occurs in the middle of the Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda. So it occurs at the end. And even though it occurs at the end, the Atharvashirsha Upanishad, coming at the end of the Atharva Veda, is called the head of the Atharva Veda. Arre, how? If it is coming at the end, it should be called the tail of the Atharva Veda. No, but it is called the head. Maybe the Atharva Veda is doing a headstand because that's the only way. It is the head. It is called Atharvashirsha Upanishad, the head of the Atharva Veda, because It is only through going through this Upanishad that one is qualified for studying this knowledge. It is a bridge between the first and the last portion of the Veda, and situated in this wonderful crux. Therefore, it gets the epithet, the head of the Yajurveda. So, like all Upanishads, all Vedas have a Shanti mantra. And Shanti mantra is needed uh, for not only lasting peace, but even relative peace, the ability to be able to sit and listen. So we have the Shanti mantra for this particular Upanishad, which I will chant in closing this. And then tomorrow in the morning session, we will see what it means and how it introduces this Upanishad. Om Bhadram Karneभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ थैंक यू